In the bustling streets of Lagos, Nigeria, a city of vibrant culture and resilient people, a sinister secret lurked in the shadows. A secret that would make you question the very fabric of humanity. This is the story of a beggar who deceived the kindness of strangers and the shocking truth behind his sinister intentions. Meet Emmanuel, a man who had mastered the art of deception. With a convincing tale of woe and a pitiful appearance, he would beg for money from unsuspecting passers-by. Many people, moved by his story, would give him money, unaware of the sinister purpose it would serve. Emmanuel's story was one of tragedy and hardship. He claimed to have lost his family in a tragic accident and was struggling to make ends meet. But not everyone was convinced by Emmanuel's story. Some people began to notice a pattern. Emmanuel would only beg in areas with high foot traffic, and he would always disappear quickly after receiving money. Suspicion started to grow, and soon, a group of curious individuals decided to investigate further. The group, led by a determined young woman named Nneoma, set up a sting operation to catch Emmanuel in the act. They followed him, watching as he collected money from various people, and then, they made their move. Nneoma approached Emmanuel, pretending to be a sympathetic stranger. "Excuse me, sir," Nneoma said, "I couldn't help but notice that you're begging for money. What's your story?" Emmanuel launched into his well-rehearsed tale of woe, telling Nneoma about the tragic accident that had taken his family and left him destitute. Nneoma listened attentively, pretending to be moved by his story. "I'm so sorry to hear that," Nneoma said, pulling out a large sum of money. "Here, take this. I hope it helps." Emmanuel's eyes lit up with excitement as he accepted the money. "Thank you so much, ma'am," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "You're a lifesaver." But Nneoma and her team were not fooled. They followed Emmanuel, watching as he handed the money over to a group of shady characters. "Who are these people?" Nneoma asked Emmanuel as they confronted him. Emmanuel's facade began to crumble. "They're just some friends," he stammered. "Don't lie to us," Nneoma said, her voice firm. "We know what you're using the money for. Tell us the truth." Emmanuel hesitated, then confessed to using the money for ritual purposes. He revealed a dark world of occult practices and human sacrifice, and the group was horrified. "We had no idea," one of the team members said, shaking his head. "We thought you were just a beggar." "I'm sorry," Emmanuel said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. But the damage had already been done." Emmanuel had been collecting money from people for years, using it to fund his dark rituals. And now, he would have to face the consequences. The police took Emmanuel away, charging him with fraud and occult practices. As he stood before the judge, he showed no remorse for his actions. But the people who had been deceived by him were relieved that justice had been served. The case served as a warning to others: never give money to beggars without verifying their story. The story of Emmanuel is a sobering reminder that not everyone is what they seem. As we go about our daily lives, let us be cautious and wise, remembering that kindness should never be blind. Never give money to beggars without knowing the truth behind their story. As the investigation into Emmanuel's activities continued, it became clear that he had been using the money he collected for ritual purposes. He had been working with a group of occult practitioners, using the money to fund their dark rituals. The rituals, which involved human sacrifice and other forms of violence, were designed to bring wealth and power to those who participated. Emmanuel had been using the money he collected to fund these rituals, and in return, he had been promised a share of the wealth and power. But the rituals had a darker consequence. Those who had given Emmanuel money, unaware of his true intentions, began to experience strange and terrifying occurrences. They would receive mysterious messages and phone calls, and some even reported being attacked by unknown assailants. As the police dug deeper, they discovered that Emmanuel had been collecting money from people for years. He had been operating in several different cities, always using the same tactic to deceive people. The police estimated that Emmanuel had collected millions of dollars from unsuspecting victims. They also discovered that he had been working with a network of other scammers and occult practitioners, all of whom were using the same tactics to deceive people. As the news of Emmanuel's arrest spread, many people began to come forward, sharing their own stories of being deceived by him. The police were able to piece together a larger picture, revealing a vast network of scammers and occult practitioners who had been operating in the city for years. One of the victims, a young woman named Nneoma, came forward to share her story. She had given Emmanuel money on several occasions, believing that he was genuinely in need. "I felt so sorry for him," Nneoma said, shaking her head. "He told me that he had lost his family and was struggling to make ends meet. I had no idea that he was using the money for ritual purposes." Nneoma's story was just one of many. As the police continued to investigate, they discovered that Emmanuel had been collecting money from people all over the city. The investigation led to the arrest of several other individuals, all of whom were connected to Emmanuel's scam. The police were able to recover a large sum of money, which was returned to its rightful owners. The story of Emmanuel serves as a reminder that we must always be vigilant and cautious when dealing with strangers. We must verify the stories of those who ask for our help, and we must never give money to beggars without knowing the truth behind their story. As the city began to heal from the shock of Emmanuel's scam, Nneoma and her team were hailed as heroes. They had uncovered a dark secret and brought a criminal to justice. Nneoma's determination and bravery had inspired others to come forward and share their own stories of being deceived by scammers and occult practitioners. The city was forever changed by the experience, but it was also stronger and more resilient. The people had come together to support one another, and they had learned a valuable lesson about the importance of vigilance and caution. Years later, Nneoma would become a leading advocate for social justice, using her experience with Emmanuel to help others. She would travel the world, sharing her story and warning people about the dangers of scams and occult practices. And as for Emmanuel, he would spend the rest of his days behind bars, a reminder that justice will always catch up with those who deceive and harm others. The story of Emmanuel is a testament to the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future. As the years went by, the city would never forget the lessons it learned from Emmanuel's scam. The people would always be vigilant and cautious, never giving money to beggars without knowing the truth behind their story. And Nneoma's bravery and determination would inspire others to stand up against injustice and fight for what is right. The story of Emmanuel would live on, a cautionary tale about the dangers of deception and the importance of kindness and compassion. And it would serve as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for a brighter future.